I want to just give an update on where we are with the ice cream scoop. Last week I did some experimentation, which you saw on video with my son, and he expressed a preference for the angled product concept, and I think it was this prototype. And I said that I was really still kind of attached to the swoop scoop, and that was true. So what I did is I made some additional prototypes, essentially some form models of these two concept directions. And so on the angled scoop, I made one form model out of a material called balsa foam that looks like this. And the idea was that it could be used to essentially scoop very comfortably and ergonomically around the corners of an ice cream container. And just incidentally, this material, balsa foam, is basically like wood but without any grain to it. It's made out of polyurethane with some glass, what they call micro balloons in it. It comes in various thicknesses. I had some material that was 1 inch thick, so I glued two pieces together to make some 2 inch thick material, and then I just cut out a shape, and I traced out the shape I wanted. I cut it out, and then basically you then spend 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half, with a belt sander to get the shape you want. So it's effectively you're just carving, literally carving with a belt sander, and that's, you kind of do have to have a belt sander for that. At least it makes it a lot easier. And I realize that we're now talking about a particular design domain where I have some specialized expertise and have some ability to make models. If you were going to be doing kitchen implements, you'd probably either need to develop that expertise, or you'd need to have a friend or a supplier who could help you with that. So anyway, that was the model, one of the models I made. The other model I made, it's now with someone who's creating a digital model of it, so I can't show it to you now. I'll just show you the photograph of it. I made to experiment with putting the scoop, giving more angle to the handle. And the idea was, I was concerned about if I were trying to reach down in a deep container, would I be able to do it with this shape? And so what I did after I made that other form is I got some different shaped boxes and containers, and I tried scooping with different shapes. And I basically concluded that this worked quite well for a shallow container, but would not work well for a deep container. And I therefore abandoned this particular direction and took the other direction for the angled scoop. I couldn't give up on the swoop scoop, and so I made a model out of basswood of the swoop scoop. It's really kind of a nice thing. It feels really nice. It's got a nice shape to it. It's kind of got a cute form to it. I even went so far as to register a domain for it called the Swan Scoop, on the theory that this was kind of like a swan dive. And this was made out of basswood, which is a fairly readily available wood. It's a really well-behaved wood. It doesn't splinter at all. It behaves almost like balsa foam, but it's a little harder. You treat it the same way. You cut out the shape, and then you basically belt sand, or I whittled with a knife, and then I belt sanded to get the shape. I was concerned, you remember on the testing we did, the angle of the swoop scoop was such that it interfered with the edge of the container. So what I did was I made another version of it that had a less steep angle by about 15 degrees. I made this one out of balsa foam. And I tried all of these just basically like this with some mock-ups of the containers. And I have to admit, finally, I essentially abandoned this direction. I'm not saying that it can't work. I'm not even saying I'm happy about having abandoned it, but I just feel like this direction was more promising. The only downside to this direction is this tool will be handed. That is, it will come in a right hand or a left hand version. It doesn't work in both configurations. I went around the kitchen and there are quite a few devices that are handed. In particular, if you think about a can opener, it's also a righty. It's made for righties or right-handed people. So I decided I could live with that, but it is a problem. It is a defect, I think, in this basic approach. I decided that given how widely available ice cream scoops are in the market, that it wasn't really a huge problem for lefties that they couldn't buy or have access to my scoop design. So then what I did is I did a refined model of that angled scoop, which I'll show here in a photograph. And then what I want to do now is create a works-like prototype that I'll do using 3D printing. In order to do that, I have to create a digital model of the object, and I've got one of my former students working on that, because that's actually a tough job. It's a skill I actually don't have to make the three-dimensional model of that complex curved object. So I've hired someone on an hourly basis in order to get that done. I'm hoping I get that model back in time that I can 3D print the prototype to be able to show you and to be able to test how well it works.